welcome back. I hope you're having a good Friday morning. There's plenty of stock action to discuss. So let's get straight to our top 10 segment. Sonia, you go first. Tata Motors, some negative news yet again?
Oh, absolutely. As they say, when it rains, it pours, and it's pouring bad news for Tata Motors. I'm going with red over there. Yesterday, the UK Chancellor said that electric vehicles won't be eligible for excise duty exemptions from April of 2025. That's still 2.5 years away, but nevertheless, this could have a damaging impact on Tata Motors. This means that electric car owners will have to pay taxes on their vehicles from 2025. Now, the incentive was that they won't have to pay taxes and hence they would incentivize to move from ICE engines to EV engines. Now, if this incentive is taken out, then it could be damaging for electric vehicle volumes. Now, just to put it into perspective, for Tata Motors, 20% of their revenues comes from the UK region itself, which includes both ICE and electric vehicle engines. And the JLR sales in UK have been the lowest since Q1 of FY21. So it's been under a lot of pressure. In fact, if you look at the data recently in Q2 of this year, UK wholesales were down 26% quarter on quarter. And the graph will also be up for you. It's not just EVs, but ICE engines that are also under pressure. The only thing to add here is that this starts from April 2025, so there's still a lot of time. But the bigger issue here, Prashant, and we were discussing this earlier as well, is that the costs of governments are rising, right? Yeah. There is pressure on the fisc. If the EV volumes go up, which is what they wanted earlier, then they won't be able to sustain these subsidies. Yeah. And that is a bit of a concern.
You know, there was this story on carbon credits offsets, right? I mean, which also I think is something similar because EV adoption is becoming, renewables are getting more and more attractive. Yeah. Earlier, governments were giving these putting a value to these carbon credits if you adopted renewable sources of energy. But now you don't need these carbon credits. So companies with business models which are, and we have a few here in India, I mean, EKI services, if you guys remember. So you're taking so a lot changing, right? With as renewable energy becomes more affordable, wider adoption, subsidies, as Sonia pointed out, also starting to come off. Well, blocks are raining down Dalal Street. There was Paytm yesterday. Now this morning there is Nykaa. But it's a very small discount on Nykaa, indicating that perhaps there is better demand as compared to Paytm that we saw yesterday, which offered us larger discount. Vivek has got more on this one. Vivek, good morning.
Well, good morning. Well, that's right. Ever since, the lock-in has expired for Nykaa, and after, you've actually had the allotment of the bonus shares into the demat accounts, you've seen a whole spate of block deals. We've seen block deals almost every day as far as Nykaa is concerned. Today, what we are anticipating is that sources indicate to us that TPG Capital is looking to sell almost 1,000 crore worth of shares. That implies almost 2% of the total equity of the company. And the floor price for this particular block has been set at 184.55 rupees a share, which indicates a very marginal discount of 0.6% to yesterday's closing price. Now, yesterday also we had a block deal, and interestingly, the buyer there was the Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board. So some positive news flow coming in terms of some good buyers coming in as well. Going with a green on this name for today.
Yeah, all right, Vivek. Thanks a lot for that. Big recovery actually in yesterday's trade as well on Nykaa. Well, let's hop across to Ekta. Ekta, tell us, give us a pharma dose of the day. What are the stocks on your radar?
Well, yes, Glenmark and Glenmark Life, because they held their investor day last evening. Glenmark double-digit revenue estimated over the next 4 years, continuous improvement in EBITDA, zero net debt by FY26, 22% ROCE by FY27. And for Glenmark Life, the guidance is mid-teen growth, CDMO, which is contract drug manufacturing, to double by 2027, stable margins, stable cash flows, and industry-leading dividend payout. Now, all of these are positive, but they are quite long-term, and hence we could probably see a sentiment green today.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Well, Vivek is joining in to talk about Paytm and the block deal there. Vivek, over to you.
Well, that's right. So yesterday we had indicated that SoftBank was looking to sell almost 4.5% stake in the company. So along expected lines, that happened in yesterday's trading session. SoftBank now owns around 12.95% stake in the company after yesterday's block deal. What we're tracking is the buyers. So BofA Securities bought almost 50.2 lakh shares yesterday. Morgan Stanley bought 60 lakh shares, and Society General again bought around 70.8 lakh shares. All of these deals were done at the lower end of the pricing band of 555 rupees a share.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that, Vivek. Vaista joins in to tell us about all the other stocks that are in the news. Vaista, morning.
Hi, morning, Nigel. First is Fortis Healthcare. IIH says that SEBI has advised us to go ahead with the Fortis open offer after getting Delhi High Court nod. And IIH is obtaining the legal advice on the next steps. Now, this open offer has been pending since December 2018. And in September this year, the Supreme Court had asked for a forensic audit on Fortis IIH stake sale with no go-ahead on the open offer. Moving on to Blue Dart, which has launched 25 retail stores in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities and plans to set up a total of 100 stores in the near future. So going with the green here, it's on an expansion spree. Mahindra Life Science launched its residential project Mahindra Citadel Phase 1 at Pimpri Chinchwad in Pune. Back to you.
Okay, thanks for that. Well, let's go across to Manisha. She's tracking ONGC and Oil India this morning. Manisha, good morning.
Oh, well, yes, and a big decline really in the crude oil prices that would support these commodity, these stocks there. We have seen 4% of a cut come in for the crude oil prices overnight and 7% down for this week now. And this is after 3% of a decline in the previous week as well. So it has been a fortnight now that we have seen a constant decline come in for crude. The Chinese demand concerns as COVID cases rise to 23,000 as a number now, which is the highest since the month of April, clearly weighs on the demand sentiment. Also, NATO clearing Russia of the missile attack in Poland has taken off the geopolitical premium of the crude prices too. The oil flows from Russia to Hungary through Druzhba pipeline also have resumed after 2 to 3 days of a shutdown, so that those supplies seem to be coming back as well. And then the U.S. manufacturing activity declining to 2011 lows. So it's weak economic data, weak demand concerns, and geopolitical premium coming off the prices. All of that continues to weigh on crude prices.
Okay, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Here's a quick recap then of our top stocks. Stocks with positive news flow. There's Nykaa, Glenmark Life Sciences, Fortis Healthcare, Blue Dart and Mahindra Lifespace. While stocks with negative news flow, there's Tata Motors, Paytm, ONGC and Oil India.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on. An update on the government's divestment plans. And sources say that the government is seeking an extension to meet the 25% minimum public shareholding norm for IDBI Bank post-privatization, while expressions of interest for Container Corp stake sale. That's likely by December. Sapna joins us to fill us in all that she's picking up. Sapna?
So first, of course, we are given to understand the government is not having any plans to change the December 16 deadline in terms of receiving the expressions of interest for IDBI Bank privatization. There is no plan to change that. So they're sticking to that December 16 timeline as of now. Second, of course, in terms of the IDBI Bank meeting the minimum public shareholding norm of 25% post-privatization, what we're given to understand is that discussions are still on in terms of seeking additional time for that, maybe a 2-year window, a 3-year window. There's nothing specific that we can speak about right now, but it'll have to be a longer timeline that will have to be given to the bank post-privatization, of course. At some point in time, there's also a discussion that, you know, maybe the government's share in IDBI Bank and LIC's share in IDBI Bank, that could have been considered as public shareholding by SEBI, but now we are given to understand that that option has been dropped. Hence, we are back to square one in terms of seeking additional time to meet that 25% norm by the bank post-privatization. Last but not the least, also in terms of the SEBI notification in terms of pricing of open offers for privatizations, we are given to understand that that's going to be the same as the bid price. This has now been notified. So this is also a positive for IDBI Bank's stake sale. The price at which the bid comes in and is accepted, the strategic buyer will have to quote the same price for the open offer, and this is going to apply for all privatizations in the future. Also, in terms of Shipping Corp and Concor, well, we are given to understand the government may be in a position to come out with or rather invite the expressions of interest for Concor privatization by December. And BEML and SCI, we are given to understand, well, they will be calling for the financial bids before this current financial year is over.
All right, Sapna, thanks very much for that. We'll take a quick break, but before that, guys, just wanted to highlight a tweet which has come from Elon Musk. Who else, right? I mean, he never got off it, right, Nigel? It's just crazy, right? What's going on? And but look at this tweet. He says, "How do you make a small fortune in social media? Start out with a large one." I remember this. This used to be the airline quote, right? How do you start? How do you make? I think it used to be, how do you make $1 million? And the answer used to be start with $1 billion and start an airline or something like that, right?
And then you move to $1 million automatically.
Yeah, exactly, right? It used to be, but it's quite incredible.
Yeah.
And I think now there are stories which are saying that entire teams are quitting, and
Yeah.
I just hope there's a much-loved platform. All of us use it, and it's such an informative platform that they come out of it okay. Right? I mean, it's got a change in ownership. It's got a new owner, perhaps a new vision, new path.
I read something where someone tweeted saying, where were you when Elon Musk bought Twitter? You were on Twitter. So it just goes to show that, these are things that perhaps, despite everything that's happening, despite the toxic work environment, people leaving, mass layoffs, the platform continues to do well.
Absolutely. And what a character, right?
We've never had one like this. And the richest man in the world on Twitter, running the company, running the show on Twitter. And so, this is actually unprecedented in that sense. Mr. Musk, of course, also points out the daily average usage, these charts every day, says that they're all-time high. I believe that. With all that is going and mainly orchestrated by him, things about Twitter, on Twitter, usage has to be through the roof. But as I said, one just hopes that things come out quite okay on the other side of all of this. We'll take a quick break here. We are back. Our fundamental guest will be with us. Anand Tandon is going to be joining us on the other side. We also will have R.P. Goel, Director of Finance at NHPC, who will discuss their business outlook in a bit from now. Stay with us.